due to the pandemic causing chip shortages and game delays, do you think this generation will last longer than last generation? How long do you think it'll go for? I didn't think about that. He has a point. Like this generation's kind of been delayed
Mm-hmm.
for a year or maybe two. It may go on longer than a normal generation just because of the fact that everything's just been stymied. So, Chris,
Yeah,
what do you? Actually, Brett, go ahead since you're already talking.
oh, thanks. It's stupid waste of time anyway. I mean, it's that gulf that naturally happens for the first year or two after you have a system released. I don't know that they necessarily want to extend that. And technology is going to keep moving forward, just as quickly, so it'll be outdated at the same time, at the same pace. And they're looking at redesigning the PlayStation so it doesn't need the semiconductors to.
Wait, where did you hear that?
I read it in an article about a day or so ago.
Okay, I can't verify that. I'm like, what?
There's nothing verifiable in there. I said Sony is thinking about
Oh,
redesigning,
okay.
making design adjustments so that it can work around the semiconductors. I mean, it was somebody from Sony that said it, but it means nothing in that instance because they're looking into it. But yeah, if it keeps going, I would be not surprised at all if they found a way to kind of adjust the design to work around it.
Yeah, Chris, what do you say, man? You think we'll potentially see a longer generation because of all this nonsense?
Uh, I'd only say no because it doesn't seem to be affecting other R&D at other companies like Apple and all these guys still seem to be moving forward with their plans. Even though there's chip shortages, what they're doing is they're staggering releases, but it's only like brief delays, but it's not like, hey, we're gonna hold off product releases for a year or two. So I would assume that any R&D into PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox or whatever and whatever Nintendo's doing is already happening, right? Like, and all you could do is like you create specs and you don't really create the hardware at that point. Like you maybe um set goals and then you would create reference systems around it, which are PCs, and then start building all your APS and stuff around that till you figure out, okay, this is the chipset we want to use, and we're going to negotiate with Nvidia or whoever they go with, to build it, Intel, AMD, whoever it is. So I'd say I'd say no, it won't. The only way I see it delaying the generation is if the chip shortages go well into next year.
Hmm.
If the pandemic has created a cascading effect where uh, China can't get their shit together, and we are seeing chip shortages well into 2022 with the phones and everything. Like you still see these delays, you can't get an Nvidia card or whatever. Then absolutely, I would agree with you. Like, okay, this has had such a profound effect on manufacturing that the repercussions are you won't see a new generation of systems because everything is knocked off, right?
Shit.
Yeah.
Carlos, what do you say?
No, I don't think so. Especially, I think console life cycles might get smaller more than anything, because the rapid growth of technology is it's only getting even better actually as things goes on. So I think one of the most important things to take into account is the user base in terms of PlayStation and Xbox, and what their expectations will be in terms of having a 6, 7, 8 year old console, or a piece of tech in general. People don't, for cell phones, people don't usually have 7 year old cell phones anymore. People usually upgrade, 5 years, 4 years. A lot of people do 1 year. Um, so I think a lot of the limitations that the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X has right now is going to be more in a microscope than it's ever been before. Especially since the competition is not going to be other consoles; it's going to be the cloud, and the cloud does not suffer from whatever limitations consoles have, because they have their huge ass data centers where they do all their processing. So I think we might have the refresh kind of like how we had last gen. Maybe we'll have it the same time, or maybe even quicker. not quicker because it was like what 3-4 years I think.
3 years.
Yeah, so we might have another PS5 Pro and Xbox Series X on in 3 years.
Series double X.
Double X.
Double X, yep. And then we'll have the triple X after that.
Hey, family.
Firmware. So yeah, as far as the chip shortages, it is a factor, but as far as we've seen the numbers I think have been at an all-time high in terms of a release. I think they sold over 7 million PS5s from the numbers that we got last week.
Yeah, 7.8 million. Yeah,
which was more than the PS4, if I remember correctly.
at the same time. Yes.
So we do have shortages. The chip shortages is a thing, but as we're still doing record numbers in terms of sales for consoles. So I think the shortages are going to be prevalent throughout this year and next year. I think we might have a better idea and a better grasp of how these consoles are going to be in the wild and during the latter half of 2022. But remember, for the Wii had shortages almost throughout its whole life cycle.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't real though.
Yeah, that wasn't real. Nintendo pulling that bullshit. And
Nintendo is actually the best one to squeeze the life every single drop out of its console, and they still upgraded in 6 years. With the Wii U, I think it came out in 2012, and the Wii was at 2006. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a 10-year console or even an 8 or 7-year console. I think we might have actually a 6-year console.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you think, man? What do you say, sir?
It's kind of a tough one to answer. Again, I'm mostly with Chris here. I don't think that this generation will last any longer than last, but it all depends on when these guys start doing their R&D, because for the most part, like the R&D for the PS5 started well before the PS4 Pro was even out there in the wild in any shape or form. So they do R&D for a good couple of years prior, and then they get their shit sorted out. So it all depends when they start that R&D, and if chips go back in standard flow from next year on, then yeah, everything is mostly on track with them. So I don't see it lasting any longer. But if the chip shortage lasts until 2022 or 23, then it may be an extra year or so longer. But in the grand scheme of things, Sony could just do the usual refresh of the systems, do a PS5 Pro, and then just stick in another GPU chip and call it a day. So yeah, I'm finding it hard pressed for them to have a good reason to make it longer this generation.
Brett, what's your question?
Would competition affect these at all? Because the way I see it, yeah, one company could push back a year. Do you think the other company is going to go ahead and wait another year too? Or you think they're going to put out their system to gain that jump on the next gen?
No, I think you're just talking about consoles here, right?
Because mostly because you saw a lot this generation how it was very important for both companies not to let their competitor release a console ahead of them.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that is one factor, but I think the most important factor going forward is going to be the game streaming services. I think because those things, they don't really have a life cycle. I
completely agree. I will say this though, if it came out where Microsoft was like, hey, we're going to go ahead and stretch this out another year because we don't feel that we've gotten our money worth from the R&D, so we're going to stretch out our money. And PlayStation goes, fuck it, new console now. I'm going to go buy that new console. I ain't waiting another. I lived through that shit. I ain't waiting a year for this other system to catch up. That was bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's that one is hard to tell. Obviously, this year it did seem like a huge factor in terms of who released first or who. Microsoft made it a point to sort of announce everything ahead of Sony, and it helped them in terms of positive coverage. But I don't see. Well, I can't see that far ahead in terms of that type of strategy taken into account. It could be a huge factor, or Microsoft could just be going all in on xCloud and mobile at that point.
I want to read this comment from JNL. He goes, I think it's more likely PS6 and Xbox Series WTF, we'll call it that, are going to be digital only boxes in 2028/2020, 2028 through or 2030. Publishers will want 100% revenue. Cut out everyone, considering now over 70% of the market buys digital to begin with. And remember, he works at a video game store, so he knows those numbers. So he, I've said this too. Again, that's why I love doing Throwdown. Everything's recorded. I think this potentially could be the last console generation. With traditional consoles and next gen PS6, and maybe some little dongle that you stick on your TV and you buy a controller. It was like, all right, go play. Log into the PS app. I would not be surprised by that at all. But as to the question, I'm actually gonna kind of disagree with you guys in a bit. I think this generation is going to last as long or longer than the previous ones, because we had 2 generations in a row that went 7 years. So I don't see anything that's going to make next generation be shorter, And I'm also going to say this. I don't think we're going to get mid-gen refreshes. The reason we got the mid-gen refreshes was 2 factors. The consoles were underpowered, and then we had 4K be a thing, right? Consoles are not underpowered this time, and I don't see 8K becoming a thing for a while. So I think 7 years it's going to happen again. That's what I think. And the whole, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, isn't Moore's Law slowing down? So I don't know if technology is going to get any faster,
Not yet. It's not slowing down yet.
Yeah, because I was reading this rumors like, oh, we're starting to seeing it slow down. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Tony, they're already outdated with the invention of with the release of those new AMD chips.
Yeah, but
that's a whole new architecture. So we're already an entire generation of architecture.
But that always happens with PC, though. You know what I'm saying?
I know. But when you're saying it's slowing down, it may be slowing down, but we're already lagging behind. So I don't know how much it's going to matter if it slows down in the next few years. You'll still be 2, 3, maybe even 4 generations of fucking chip architecture ahead. That makes a difference.
Yeah, but again, we already, again, I could be wrong, but I've already seen 2 generations where it was 7 years long. I don't see this one being any shorter. So
I don't think we're saying shorter. I think we're saying it'll be equally as long. It just won't be pushed back to COVID.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with 70. Okay, so I guess I do agree with you guys. That's 7 years. 7 years.
I never said it was going to get shorter.
Okay. I thought I heard somebody said 6. I'm like, 6 years is too short. I think it's going to be.
I said 6. That.
Okay, I disagree with Carlos then. There we go.
Why do
I have to? I don't want to disagree with the Hispanic though, man. Fuck you guys.
It's already been out a year. That makes sense.
Yeah, Carlos, man, you want to take that answer?
Hey, what was the question?
He says it's already. Go ahead, Brett.
Oh, it's already been out a year, so your 6-year mark makes sense.
You meant
6 years from now, right?
No, I meant 6 years in total.
Oh
man, I gave that to you.
Yeah. He tried. You tried, Brett. You tried.
I can't take it because I think, with technology, we're accelerating faster. Moore's Law is actually accelerating. We're getting to the point where freaking transistors are the size of a fucking electron, and it's
wait till it gets shorter, man. When the Heisenberg uncertainty principle kicks in, it's going to be very interesting. But now we're getting too techie for motherfuckers. Moore's Law will break down eventually.
Yeah, then we'll have quantum computing.
I was about to say that. I can't wait for PS Quantum.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, good luck with quantum computers, because got to keep track of those atoms, because they can just go wherever they want. I'm gonna go to this dimension right now, real quick.
Yo, man, dimensional games. You're
dimensional games.
Tapping into another You're tapping into another universe.
I can already see that shit. Yo, man, your console only uses 6 dimensions to calculate. My shit uses 7, son. Fuck that.
Oh, that's the new console war.
How many dimensions do you need to power this shit?
That ain't nothing. My network connection, quantum waves.
Quantum waves, baby.
Tony, my PC is using the dimensional factors of sector 6566 teraflops.
Sector 566 teraflops. Oh God.
Oh, by the way, Tony, I do disagree with you on something.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh.
I gotta blow my nose. My
bad. I gotta rephrase it. I don't disagree, but I think I want to tell something that you said.
Yes.
So you're talking about how Sony might have something of their own sort of xCloud.
I didn't say that. Oh, yeah, I did say that. Yeah, I think all of them they're all going to go cloud, like next generation. I think they all are. Not Nintendo. Nintendo's going to get into the cloud 20 years from now. You know, but
Yeah.
I think Sony will have its version of the cloud. You know, or Manny, they could just bring back those Sony TVs with the app on it. You know.
Yeah. No, to be honest, they have it all there waiting for them. All they need to do is just beef the shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Carlos,
so I'm wondering.
you disagree with that?
No, that's why I said no. It's not a disagreement actually.
Yes.
As far as PlayStation, I'm just wondering how the hell they'll ever do anything because Gaikai/PSN Now is cute, but Microsoft has Azure. And Azure is no fucking joke. So I think PlayStation will have to link up with, either the Googles or the AWSs or the Azures to do this kinds of infrastructure.
Wait, doesn't PlayStation use Azure
Already
for
hooked up with
something?
Azure.
They use
Yeah,
it for
they're already
something.
using Azure.
No, they use it for their for some web services,
Yeah.
but not for. But I don't think they use it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
no,
I don't
they-
think
no.
they use it for PS Now.
No, they don't use it for now. But I'm just saying they do use Azure. So who's to say Sony be like, hey, can we keep on using that shit for something else? We'll give you more money. You never know, man.
So I think that's how it's gonna have to be because I don't think Sony is anywhere. Speaking of Moore's law, they're like 100 years behind what Microsoft is doing with Azure.
Well, Microsoft has something else too, money.
That is true.